The night I finally said no, my mother looked at me like I had betrayed the entire bloodline. My father didn't yell. He just nodded slowly and said, "I guess we were wrong about you." That hurt more than screaming ever could. Because for 24 years, they had only ever called me one thing. Strong. Strong enough to handle pressure. Strong enough to sacrifice. Strong enough not to need help. What they never said out loud was the rest of it. Strong enough to replace. It started long before that night. Long before the slammed door. Long before I packed a single bag. It started with small moments that didn't feel dangerous at the time. Like being the one who stayed calm while everyone else fell apart. Like being told, "You're mature for your age." Like hearing, "We don't worry about you." I used to glow when they said that. I thought it meant I was special. But special people get protected. I got assigned responsibilities. By 17, I was managing things my parents didn't want to deal with. By 19, I adjusted my college choice to stay closer to home. By 21, I was the emotional shock absorber for the entire house. And every time something went wrong, the sentence came back. "You're strong. You can handle it." What they meant was, "You won't leave like the others." My name is Amelia Carter. I'm 24 years old. And the night I stopped being the strong one, was the night my family realized they had built their entire stability on someone they thought would never walk away. They were wrong. The morning after I left, silence had swallowed the house. My parents moved through their routines like shadows, careful not to collide with the emptiness I left behind. Breakfast sat untouched, the coffee machine hummed quietly, and the familiar chaos of their demands was gone. For the first time, the house seemed fragile, brittle, as if it were waiting for something, or someone, to collapse it entirely. And then Ethan arrived. My brother, always convinced the world revolved around him, stormed through the front door with fury spilling from every movement. "Why did you leave?" he shouted, voice shaking with panic. He tried to mask his anger. "You were supposed to fix this." I imagined it perfectly, the rage bouncing off the walls, my parents shrinking in silent fear, realizing for the first time that the glue holding this family together, the one who had always smoothed every fight, absorbed every failure, was gone. For 24 years, I had carried the weight no one else wanted. Calm when tempers flared. Mediator when fights spiraled. Problem solver when no one stepped up. And now I was absent. From my small apartment across town, I watched the fallout unfold. Calls ignored. Bills unpaid. Arguments erupting over trivial things that used to slide. Ethan's temper unleashed on everything and everyone. My parents' frantic texts begged for me to return. "Amelia, we need you. Everything is falling apart." For the first time, I felt the full power of my absence. Fear mingled with liberation. They had depended on me for so long, built their lives on my compliance, my strength, my silence. And now, watching them stumble without me, I realized something vital. Freedom doesn't just feel terrifying, it feels like seeing the truth for the first time. Days passed, and the chaos at home only intensified. Every text I ignored, every call I left unanswered, felt like a hammer hitting the walls of their carefully constructed world. Ethan's panic grew into full-blown frustration. "She can't just leave," he yelled at my mom over the phone, his voice cracking. "Everything is a mess without her." I didn't answer. I watched silently from my apartment, sipping cold coffee, letting the truth sink in. They had always painted me as strong, capable, unbreakable, but what they never realized was that strength has a limit. Even the strongest person can only carry so much before they decide they won't. At work, I finally felt the air around me loosen. Small freedoms, little victories, they felt explosive. I could make decisions without worrying about someone else's temper, someone else's expectations, someone else's chaos. But my heart twisted every time I thought about my parents. Love doesn't disappear, even when betrayal becomes the only path to self-preservation. And then, a week after I left, the first real fallout came. A flood in the basement, a missed client payment, a car accident that Ethan didn't report. My parents panicked. For years, I had been the one to plan, fix, and rescue. Now, they were forced to see what happened when the strong one wasn't there to catch them. I realized something then. My absence wasn't just punishment, it was clarity. They had built their lives assuming I would never walk away. But I had. And in that space, I finally understood the weight I had carried for 24 years. They had always called me strong. But I had learned something more important: strength without boundaries is slavery, and no one, not even family, deserves that kind of power over another human being. By the second week, the weight of my absence became impossible to ignore. My parents had always relied on me as their invisible anchor, the one who held the storm at bay. Now, every mistake, every missed deadline, every overlooked bill seemed to echo louder than ever. My phone buzzed constantly, texts from my mother filled with guilt, my father's messages pleading for help. Ethan's rants grew desperate. "Amelia, you're ruining everything. We can't survive without you." I read every word. I didn't respond. Instead, I felt something I hadn't in years: relief. Relief from responsibility I hadn't agreed to, from sacrifices I hadn't signed up for, from being the family's default problem solver. Then came the first real test. A major client threatened to pull the shop's contract because invoices were late, and my parents couldn't handle the negotiations. I watched from my apartment, heart tight but resolute. In the past, I would have dropped everything, calmed them, fixed the problem. This time, I stayed silent. For the first time, they had to navigate life without their strong one. Panic replaced their confidence. Arguments erupted over trivial mistakes, and I realized how much my presence had been treated as a guarantee rather than a gift. And yet, amidst the chaos, I felt alive. The freedom of walking away, of letting them face the consequences of their own choices, was intoxicating. My strength wasn't just survival anymore, it was choosing myself over the endless cycle of sacrifice. By the end of the week, a quiet had settled in. My parents called, not pleading this time, but hesitant, wary, unsure of the power they had taken for granted. I knew then that nothing would ever be the same. For the first time, I wasn't just strong, I was free. The night I walked back into their house, it wasn't with fear or obligation. It was with a calm certainty I had never felt before. My parents froze when I stepped through the door, eyes wide, mouths opening and closing like fish out of water. Ethan looked up from his phone, his face pale. "You're back?" my mother whispered, almost a question, almost a plea. I nodded slowly. "I'm back," I said, but this time, it wasn't to fix, it wasn't to rescue. It was to set boundaries. To show them that strong doesn't mean replaceable. They expected the same old Amelia, silent, compliant, forgiving everything. But the girl in front of them now had seen what it felt like to put herself first. She had felt the freedom of not carrying the weight they demanded. "I won't be your emotional safety net anymore," I said. "I won't handle your crises at the expense of my life. I'm not here to be replaced, I'm here to live my own life." The room was silent. My father's hands trembled slightly as he set down his coffee cup. My mother's lips quivered, and Ethan finally looked up, shock written all over his face. No yelling, no pleading, no manipulation. Just the truth. The unshakable, undeniable truth. That night, they realized what they had lost: not just my labor, not just my calm presence, but my trust and my willingness to tolerate being treated like I didn't matter. And in that realization, I found my power. I, Amelia Carter, 24 years old, had finally stopped being the strong one for everyone else. And for the first time, I was strong for myself. That night, they understood: some people aren't replaceable. Some people decide their own worth. And that night, I decided mine. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like and subscribe for more thrilling tales. Share your thoughts in the comments below, we love hearing from you.